Alright, so Meta and Harvard just released something that's quietly changing the entire game for AI coding agents, and honestly, the implications are kind of wild. This is the Confucius Code Agent, and it's proving something that most people still don't get about AI. The secret isn't always having the biggest, most expensive model. Sometimes it's about building the right system around it. So here's what just happened. Meta and Harvard dropped this fully open-source AI software engineer called the Confucius Code Agent, and it's built on something called the Confucius SDK. Now, at first glance, you might think, okay, another coding agent, we've seen those before. Tools like SWE-Agent and OpenHands already exist. But this is fundamentally different, and the difference matters more than you'd think. Most AI agents today are basically just large language models with a few tools bolted on. You give them the ability to run commands, edit files, maybe do some searching, and you call it a day. But Confucius flips that entire approach on its head. They're saying the system around the model, what they call the scaffold, is just as important as the model itself, and they've got the results to prove it. Here's the crazy part. When they tested this thing on real GitHub repositories using Claude Sonnet, which is a mid-tier model, it actually outperformed the much more powerful Claude Opus that had a weaker scaffold around it. Let that sink in for a second. A smaller, cheaper model with better scaffolding beat a larger, more expensive model. That's like saying a well-organized amateur chef can outperform a Michelin star chef working in a chaotic kitchen. The infrastructure matters. So what makes this scaffold so special? The Confucius SDK introduces 3 major mechanisms that completely change how AI agents work on real coding tasks. First, there's hierarchical working memory. This solves one of the biggest problems with AI agents today. They forget things. When you're debugging code, you might go through 50, 60, sometimes over 100 steps. You edit files, run tests, read error logs, try different approaches. In that long journey, decisions you made 40 steps ago still matter. But most agents just use a simple sliding window of context, which means eventually, that crucial information gets cut off. And once it's gone, the agent starts repeating mistakes, going in circles, breaking things it already fixed. It's like coding with amnesia. The hierarchical working memory system fixes this by organizing the agent's trajectory into structured scopes, summarizing past steps, and keeping the important stuff accessible while staying within context limits. Real memory architecture, not just a bigger context window. The second mechanism is persistent note-taking, and this one's honestly brilliant. The system has a dedicated agent that writes structured notes from execution traces, kind of like the notes a senior engineer would leave for themselves after solving a tricky bug. These notes capture repository conventions, strategies that worked, patterns that failed, all the little gotchas specific to that code base. Then it stores them as long-term memory that can be reused across sessions. They tested this by running the agent twice on the same tasks, and the second time around, it solved problems faster, used fewer tokens, and wasted fewer steps. That efficiency improvement translates directly into cost savings in production environments. The third piece is modular tool extensions. Instead of treating tools like random function calls, each tool can maintain its own state and logic. Better tool handling alone boosted their success rate from around 44% to over 51% on benchmarks. That's a massive jump just from how the agent coordinates its tools. But here's where it gets really futuristic. They've built a meta agent that designs other agents. You give it a description in plain English of what kind of agent you want, and it proposes configurations, tests them on real tasks, looks at the results, and iteratively improves the design. The Confucius Code Agent itself was actually built using this meta agent process. We're literally at the point where AI is designing better AI systems. On the toughest coding benchmarks, like SWE-Bench Pro, which has over 700 real GitHub issues requiring actual code fixes, Confucius Code Agent hit 54% success rate, absolutely crushing previous open-source systems. To put that in perspective, it's competing directly with commercial closed-source solutions while being completely transparent. On SWE-Bench Verified, it reached 74% accuracy, outperforming other frameworks even when they used more powerful models. This proves the central thesis: smart scaffolding beats raw model power. What makes this particularly exciting for developers is the accessibility. This entire system is open source. You can customize the memory architecture, plug in your own tools, adapt it to your specific workflow. And because it works so well with mid-tier models, you don't need massive compute budgets to build production-grade AI coding assistants. The era of AI agents that actually remember, learn, and improve themselves is here, and it's completely open source. This is the future of software development, and we're just getting started. Alright, drop your take in the comments. I want to see what you think, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more AI updates like this, and I'll catch you in the next one.